Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we have a mission to wake the world up to what's possible, one brave word at a time. And here today to help me with that mission are some of the amazing authors of a new book that we have coming out called The Ultimate Guide to Creating Your Soul-Aligned Business. 25 practical strategies from the experts like I have here in front of you today. Before I introduce them, let me say a humongous thank you to our lead author, Camille Miller. Camille, thank you so much for rounding up such a stellar group of human beings for this book. You have a big mission at the Natural Life Business Partnership. You're the founder of the Soul Professional Movement, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today and about what that means. And I'm just so grateful that we partnered for this book, which is Brave Healer Productions' first business book, right? We have a mission to share brave words from our holistic health and wellness professionals. But when Camille came to me with this idea about the soul-aligned business, it just married everything I love together, you guys, like the business piece, the holistic piece, the soul-aligned piece. Oh, I was so excited. So Camille, thank you. And without further ado, I want you to meet Claudia Holler, a board-certified health and wellness coach and owner of Vibrant Health by Claudia and Virtual Health Coaches. It's time to thrive, she says. Yes, it is. I have Nicole Parker, a growth consultant, business strategist, and soul activator with me today. Dr. Sonia Lucky is a spiritual and mental health nurse practitioner who helps people change their lives by changing their perspectives of how they think. And Sydney Tyler Thomas is a successful strategist that empowers overwhelmed and exhausted female solopreneurs to create innovative strategies to transform their relationship with their work. Cannot wait to share about these chapters that these ladies wrote with you guys. Sydney, you are going to start the party. Tell us about your amazing chapter.
First of all, I want to say thank you so much to you and to Camille for this opportunity. I am humbled and honored to be a part of this project with these tremendous authors. My book is chapter 9, and it's called Conquering Mental and Digital Clutter, the Success Formula for Calming the Chaos. For as long as I can remember, I have always felt an instinctive urge to support other first girls and then women in identifying and then leveraging opportunities that they may not have been able to see, and helping them leverage those opportunities to live their best lives. Did it as a friend, I did it as a mentor, and in later years I started doing it informally as a coach. In 2018, I realized that this was really my calling. It was my purpose for being here, that I was supposed to do more than just casually helping people as they came into my sphere, but to really broaden my impact and focus my energies and my talents and my gifts where they aligned with my purpose. So in 2018, it was totally clear to me that this is what I was supposed to be doing. But there was a lot of resistance. I had a good paying job that had fantastic benefits, a retirement plan, paid vacation, and I just didn't feel like I'd saved enough money to go out on my own. There were just all kinds of reasons and excuses that I came up with. And I realized in retrospect that the biggest one of all was fear. The imposter syndrome was loud and clear in my head. I was afraid of failure. I was afraid of success. I was afraid of not being able to support myself financially. There were just all sorts of fears. But I started getting messages from God or the universe, if you prefer that term. And those messages and those signals were what I call God winks, confirming that I'm supposed to be doing something else. At first, they were just little nudges, then they became pinches, and before long, they became pretty loud and in some cases, pretty painful. And I finally got to the point a couple of years later that I realized that I couldn't ignore this anymore, that the fear of staying on a path that didn't align with my calling was bigger than the fear of pursuing it. So I left my job and reached out on my own. And I knew that I wanted to empower female solopreneurs, but I wasn't exactly sure how that would look like until I started noticing something in my own journey. And that was that unknowingly, I had brought over with me a lot of unproductive and unhealthy work habits that I'd gained over 30 years of working as an employee. And I hadn't thought about making the shift. So it didn't take long for me to feel overwhelmed, exhausted, and stressed. So I realized in doing a lot of my own deep work and working with the women that were coming into my sphere of influence was that the common theme that we all had was a lack of clarity and alignment of our values, with our vision, with our strategic goals. So I started working with myself on creating a process that I then shared with some of the women that I knew, and have turned that into a program that I offer, which is actually called Calm the Chaos. That's where the chapter in my book comes from. So in that chapter, I share some of the first steps in that process of gaining clarity and then identifying those things that are really important to align with your vision and move towards achieving your goals, and letting go of all the things you think you need to do. You think you need to be busy, you need to work hard, and they're not really helpful or productive. And in that process, for myself and for the women I work with, we've gotten rid of the FOMO, the fear of missing out, and turned that into JOMO, the joy of missing out. And that's what I love sharing with the women that I work with.
I think everyone needs a little more JOMO, right? Sydney, thank you so much. I can't wait to share these ladies' chapters with you. Okay, you're going to have to stay tuned to read the rest of Sydney's beautiful story and learn more about her strategies. JOMO, I'm going to use that today. All right, Claudia, let's hear about your amazing chapter.
Thank you so much for sharing, Sydney. I actually wrote down goblins. I really like that a lot. I'm going to look out for those. I didn't really know that term, but I love it. Yeah, thank you too to be part of, thank you all for me to be part of this amazing group. It has been such a journey, and I'm so happy to be here. My chapter is 17, chapter number 17, and it's about how you become your thoughts. My story really is one of, I think I want a personal growth junkie, and everything that's there to learn about health and wellness, I wanted to learn, and I was still struggling. And that struggle really almost cost me my life 7 years ago. And I got diagnosed with a multitude of things. One of them was depression. And right away, obviously, you get the medication to fix it, which I was smart enough to realize that's not the only way. And then I went back to school for to become a health coach, and I slowly put my life back together. And along the way, I learned some tools, and now I have 2 businesses, and I think I can say I'm a much happier wife and a more fun mom than I was. I will carry the guilt probably with me forever that I carried my family through a couple tricky years, and they probably saw a few things I wished I didn't, but I do what I can every day, and I want to share some of those tools with those that are going to read the book.
I love how you said I learned a few tools along the way. That made me chuckle a little bit, because haven't we all learned a few things? Tell me a little bit more about what you're teaching in that piece of the chapter.
First and foremost, it is really that we become our thoughts. And in working with my clients, not only in my coaching practice, but also with the people that are in my other board certified health and wellness coaches that are in my community, we know a lot, but if we don't learn to really listen to what we're saying to ourselves, we cannot change where we're going. And to embrace that we all have our gifts and talents, and to really focus on those and step into what's there for us and to believe in ourselves. And I think there's so much to learn, so much to read, so much to process, but the loudest voice is the one in our heads. And that to realize that we have a choice to not listen and a choice to change it. And it is the hardest piece. And after that, there's just layers of planning and exercise. And of course, I believe food is medicine, and that I firmly believe that managing our time is key, right? Like we're pulled in so many directions. And if we don't pay attention, the days go by and we're on social media or whatever it is. So there's different layers, but the most important thing really is to manage our thoughts. And I believe one of those statements that isn't mine, but is that we become everything that follows the words I am. And I did a really good job because I was telling myself I was too slow, too fat, not smart enough, things like that. So we have to switch those statements.
Yes, I'm writing that one down. We become everything that follows the words I am. That's powerful. And of course, we've heard that I am statement before, but you just put it in a beautiful way there. Gave me a little moment. So thank you. Yeah, everything starts with those thoughts. With awareness, we get choices, this is like one of my favorite topics ever. I could be here all day with this one alone, you guys. And I'm actually going to ask you all about that a little bit later. So Claudia, thanks for starting that one off. Nicole, tell us about your amazing chapter.
Yes. So I wrote chapter 19, the rewilding reset, and I teach a tool to kind of drop from head to heart. As I like to call it, the rewilding reset, but it's just a 3-minute breathing practice. So my chapter is really about the identities that we choose to take on and the way that we can unconsciously lose touch with ourselves in a really big way, even when we're doing everything right. So like my kind of journey up to this point has been, oh, everyone thinks from the outside that I'm so spiritual and I've got everything figured out. I work with a shaman and I do all the right things. I meditate and I do yoga, but like there was a depth missing to it. Like it wasn't ever sticking. And so I kind of started really diving in, especially when I got like into some bumps that I very much resonate with you about, Claudia, last year, where I just started to feel a little bit depressed and like everything was really good on the outside. And I couldn't figure out why I had this emptiness inside. And then I just sort of started realizing that I wasn't living any of my truths. I wasn't doing any of the things that lit me up when I was a kid. I wasn't laughing. I wasn't giggling. I wasn't getting silly. I wasn't giving my son and my husband the attention that they really should be having from me. Everything was planned, OCD, all my patterns from work kind of carried into my personal life. And I really lost my ability to just be completely. Like everything that served me so well and made me so powerful and successful in business became me at home. So I no longer could enjoy a vacation if I didn't have a schedule from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. And I could not sit down and get my hair done. I would sit there and think 3 hours of my day, I could be making money right now. And I couldn't paint and, try to let loose without trying to turn it into a business decision. Like I could sell this and I'm going to do this. And so my chapter was kind of about techniques that will help you really know the difference between ego stroking, feeling good. Like it feels really good when someone pats you on the back and says, you're a great project manager and you're a killer at work and you just helped our whole HubSpot look cleaner, versus like a soul kind of relaxed, settled fulfillment that I just hadn't. I think I didn't have that for like a decade. The kind of thing that happens when I'm riding on horseback or watching my son laugh or having a heart to heart with somebody. That was the other big light bulb moment for me, was I stopped being able to connect with people. Like I would look at them and I'd be thinking about, I'd be judging or analyzing or planning what I was doing next. Like even people closest to me. Like I remember crying in my car one day because I went and had coffee with my dad, and he's one of the closest people to me on the planet. And during the coffee, I was looking at him and thinking, what should we talk about next? We already did that. We've got 20 more minutes. I wonder what I should tell. Should I tell him about that, or is that going to bring him down? And I kind of like hit myself. I was like, I literally just didn't hear anything he said to me. I'm sitting here planning what I should say next to my own dad. Like, that's how far I kind of got lost. And so it's just been about my journey trying to figure out how to align those strategies back and kind of embrace them and redevelop, reprogram, repattern, and let go of some of that stuff, hit the reset button.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I feel you in all of that. I love how you talked about the feeling when it's grounded and centered, which is, it feels different in everyone's body and mind. But even just talking about it today, you know, you're going to help our viewers to really understand the difference, because that other thing is not grounded.
No, it's very flighty.
Yeah. And there's a feeling to it, right? And we can discern. And then that, again, I'll repeat, with awareness, then we get the choice, and the choices are awesome when we're here.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say about that?
Not really. I just think it's just such an important thing to kind of break through and get that radical honesty out of yourself. Because like, I just really thought that I was happy. I was like, I'm an Energizer bunny and I love these things and I don't slow down. And I was always praised for it. And when I stopped being able to keep up with that, I remember being like, oh, like this really has become an expectation now. And people started saying, you're not yourself. How come you're so calm? Where's all your energy? And that's kind of, I think we all have to come to our light bulb moments in a certain way. But my goal now is just to help people identify those and reprogram, repattern. And it's a process. It's hard. It's hard. I'm not perfect yet. I still get stuck in my do. And it's just always trying to quiet the thoughts and drop from head to heart and reground.
Yeah. Awesome, Nicole. Thank you. Thanks for sharing about that. And thank all of you really for not just for saying yes to this project, but for offering your inner processes and your beautiful stories. And of course, your master teachings, right? It's one thing because I know you do this for people every day, but it's quite another thing to get it in black and white in a book, printed in a way that the reader can have the experience. And you all did that so brilliantly. So thank you. Sonia, are you ready to tell us about your amazing chapter?
I am, although I kind of want to just keep talking about everybody else here at the moment. I love what I'm hearing, and I really resonate with so much of what everyone is saying, you know, with Nicole talking about dropping from the head and the heart, and Claudia talking about becoming your feelings. It's like and then Sydney's bringing that into the business world and your personal life. It's like all of these things kind of coalesce into the kind of work that I do. I'm a nurse practitioner by training, and I describe myself as an integrative nurse practitioner because I'm family practice as well as mental health. And what I learned in practice is that though you got to have both, you can't just isolate these pieces. You need to have all of that, everything. There are so many things that need to work together for people in order for them to really be able to grow and be happy and be the people that they are. And so my chapter is around making soul aligned choices. And I was a vice president of I was a vice president and director of clinical operations for a Fortune 500 healthcare company several years ago. And I had really worked my way to the top. I'd gone to all the meetings, done all the corporate stuff, was also meeting with doctors and doing trainings and creating all these things, and very successful in that world. And at the same time, I had been segregating the spiritual side of my life because that wasn't welcome in the business world. You know, I was working in health and medicine, and there are protocols and things that you have to say and do. And so I was in this job, and what had happened is that by keeping my spirituality in the background, my whole intention of living my life as my authentic self and being who I really wanted to be also got segregated. So I was one person when I went to work and one person when I left work, and just trying really hard to keep growing while keeping boxed in. And so I decided that I was going to let the spiritual side of myself and let, start bringing this to work and to my relationships and to all of this. and basically did it in a bull in a china shop sort of fashion, and ended up going through a divorce, and everything, it really just blew everything up. When I really started talking about who I really was and what I really wanted people to be, wanted myself to be, and helping people become that for themselves. And so they started restructuring and things started happening. And long story short, I was laid off or fired, whichever way you want to put it. Fired, really, when I'm honest, when I practice that radical honesty that we were just talking about. And so my chapter is actually about the moment that that happened. Sitting there with my boss, trying to be who I really wanted to be, and her looking at me and saying, this was not enough for them. And walking back to my office kind of in this daze, and sitting there and deciding what I was going to do about it. It's like I had enough on this company and the people in it that I could bring in a lawsuit. I could make a big noise. I could really, like, you want to see fireworks, you want things to blow up, I can do that. And I could bring that, and I could be successful, and I knew that I would win because I had good stuff on people. And I sat there and I thought, okay, so you want to be your authentic self, and what is that? In this scenario, what is that situation? And if I'm going to live into that, what is the choice that I'm going to make? What am I going to do about it? And so what I write about, that's what I write about in that chapter.
Yeah, wow. I'm like feeling that, making those decisions. Oh my goodness, you guys, just you all wait. The power in all of your stories are healing moments in and of themselves. That, Sonia, is such a perfect example of how you all put your heart and soul out on your sleeve, and you let people, see it, feel it, like understand it. So thank you again, all of you, for doing that. And something all of you have touched on, which I want to move into this next question about now, is, of course, our whole book being soul aligned in your business. And Sonia was just talking about those moments where she like woke up in that and had to ask herself, okay, what does this mean? Like, who am I when I am in that space, right? So Claudia, I'm actually going to start this one with you. And I want to know, what does it even mean to you to be soul aligned in your business?
Is it okay if I add one more thing to something Nicole said?
Of course.
Correctly. So Nicole, you were saying, I'm a go-getter basically, and I was praised for it. And that to me was like this huge aha moment in a way, because I feel like we're always doing more of what we're praised for. And if there's anybody listening to this who is a parent, I think we have to be really careful what we praise our kids for. You're pretty, or you're, something, I feel like, or with everyone really, but I think praise, if we could switch that, I didn't maybe think this totally through, but if we could switch praise into something that is empowering to our children and our family and friends, versus something that they attach themselves by that is either detrimental to them or that is like superficial. So that really resonated with me, what you said there. So thank you for sharing that.
Thanks, Claudia. It's super important. Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, I think a year or two back, I forget it, I'm in Camille's group, we had to pick our words, and I picked a word of the year that you kind of just align yourself with throughout the year or pay attention to, and that one was fearless. And I think for me, it was a kind of not hiding under a rock anymore. And so to answer your question with what that soul alignment feels like, is when I feel I want to step out of my comfort zone, number one. When we do that, there's two feelings that come up, I feel like. Either we're scared or we feel it's wrong. And when it feels wrong, we have to stay away. When we feel scared, I think that's where the growth comes from. So for me, soul alignment in my business and myself, I always ask myself that question. Am I afraid? Does it feel good? Number one, then it feels good. Does it feel good for the right reason? If I feel any kind of tension, then that question comes up. Does it feel right? Does it feel wrong, or does it feel scary? Does it feel scary or wrong? Right. So, and then when it's scary, I know it's time to grow.
Yeah, I call that purpose-driven fear. I wrote, I'll give my own self a shout out right now. How to have fun with your fear exactly has to do with what Claudia just talked about. And it's really a game-changing reframe on the feeling that you're having when it's scary or wrong. I love the way you said that, Claudia. Thank you. Okay, Nicole, how about you? What has it meant for you to be in soul alignment and as far as your business? And we all know it's business and life. I think all of you author experts figured out that this is the one life you're living and you're soul aligned across the board in all of your lifestyles and practices, right? But this is a business book and people are paying attention to that. Okay, what does that mean in your business? So what's your version of this?
Yeah, I think that it's going to look really different for everybody, right? But for me, it's about aligning bliss and personal power. So I've had really separate worlds for a long time of like, on the side, I teach breath work and healing and energy work and yoga and cold therapy. And on this side, I'm a marketing consultant. It's business strategy. And it's like, I've wondered, do I align those? Is that the path? But like, I think that my main goal, I was like to reread my chapter and all of yours is like, to stop spending years analyzing how I could merge these businesses and just learn how to surrender and trust my intuition and take projects that present themselves and do things that feel good, like collaborations like this, and just kind of like trust a bit more and relax into the journey a little bit.
Yes, nice. I just wrote down something that you said. It's about aligning bliss and personal power.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I like that combo.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Sonia, how about you? What does it mean to be soul aligned in your business?
I hear that question and I just love it. I've been asking myself this for 10 or 15 years now. And what I love is that you have been talking about awareness and you keep bringing that in. And to me, that's what it's about, right? Because in order to be soul aligned in what you are doing in your business, you need to be aware. Need to have that radical honesty, which is having consciousness about what you're doing. It's taking responsibility for your thoughts that you're having. And in mental health and psychiatry, there's a cognitive triangle. It's thoughts and feelings and behaviors. And those three are interrelated. The way you think and the way that you process your thoughts along with the feeling that you bring to it is what's going to lead to your behavior. And so I teach my clients and my patients processes to be able to arrive at that and to have the awareness of, okay, what is actually going through my head right now, and to question it and take it through a framework and give them the skills to be able to just to work their way from A to B to C. And not have the excuse of, well, this just happened, or, life just happened to me. It's like, no, this is about what you decide to put forth and the energy that you're bringing to your day, to your business. And that has to do with the way that you're consciously thinking and being in awareness of everything that comes out of your mouth, every thought that comes through your head, and every action that you take, and the feelings that go with it. So I think people really sometimes just kind of get lost in trying to figure out how. They get lost in a how. And so if you give them a simple process to just kind of work your way through it, then they're able to do it really quick. And that's what helps you stay soul aligned, because you're conscious and aware of your mission in your everyday activities.
Awareness is everything. This is foundational, life-changing work you're talking about. Super awesome. We just need to keep talking for about a half a day more about this one subject because I like it so much. All right. Thank you, Sonia. Sydney, what do you want to add to this now? What does it mean for you to be soul aligned in your business? And let me get you to unmute, girl.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, great. I have absolutely loved and resonated with everything that my wonderful co-authors have said. The one thing I would add is a theme that I've noticed with each of us and the other authors in this book. A lot of us come from environments in which we ended up after years being on autopilot, doing the same thing, doing what others expected us to do, people pleasing in a work environment and perhaps at home too, and putting everybody else's needs or expectations before our own. And for some of us, to great detriment. And what it means to me is the freedom to let go of a lot of the expectations that have weighed so heavily on me all my life that I realize now weren't even mine. So one of the things that I had to do, and I encourage my clients to do, is first redefine your definition of success. Is it really what you and your soul wanted? Or was it what your parents expected for you, or your culture expected? Or is it based on what your college, former college classmates are doing now, what kind of car they drive, what kind of neighborhood they live in? It was time to let all of that go and decide what was really important to me and my soul in a vacuum, regardless of what everybody else thought. And in the process of thinking about this, I discovered a beautiful philosophy. It comes from the Japanese culture called wabi-sabi. And it's really, I call it a simply elegant way of living. Most people think of it in terms of the aesthetics, architecture, design, but we can design our lives to be simply elegant. And several, Nicole and Sonia and Claudia, all talked about choices. And being soul aligned for me means choosing a simply elegant life, which means embracing my imperfection and honoring that there's beauty in that, being grateful for the things that I have and knowing that they are enough, that I am enough. And I think Sonia may have mentioned surrendering. There's an incredible world of opportunities out there if we can open ourselves up to them and quiet all the noise. So that's what being soul aligned looks like in my life.
Thank you. And also you're gifting this idea of awareness. I mean, that opened up my entire life back when I realized I had spent most of the front end of it pursuing everyone else's idea of what was supposed to make me happy. You just touched on that subject, which I think is really important for people to kind of wake up in the middle of, hey, this doesn't feel soul aligned. Well, why? Well, because you never even really gave yourself 2 minutes to decide what felt good to you. You're following everybody else's rules,
Exactly.
So thank you, Sydney. That's a super awesome topic. Another one we could talk for hours about. Okay, so I want to add my 2 cents to this question. My background is physical therapy. And so my body and feeling my body and my mind noticing thoughts have been my GPS system. So how I know I'm soul aligned is joy is in here, and it feels like a light heart and a tall posture and a smile, and it feels strong in me and nimble. Right. And so I know I'm soul aligned because it frickin' feels good. Right. And so everything I'm doing in my business creates a feeling. And honestly, even when I'm scared. So, and, we talked about this a little bit, that purpose-driven fear has a bubbly, excited feeling to it in me. It's not the wrong feeling that I think it was Claudia who talked about earlier. So discerning that in my body was how I knew I was soul aligned. And here's what happened as a result of becoming soul aligned in my business. And it's the next question I have for all of you. My community showed up in droves. And for me, you guys, community has been the difference between success and failure in my business. So I want to know, Nicole, first, what has community meant in your world?
Oh, I just literally got like goosebumps when you said that. It's so funny. I just think human connection is everything. And I think in this post-pandemic world and just in general with people moving and expanding, it's hard and important to keep. I think that is like one of the biggest aha moments that I got when I was kind of doing my life re-envisioning project was all my friends live in New York and LA. I don't know that many people here in Charleston. I've got to make the effort to go out and like, even this podcast interview, I was nervous. I was like, I've never done a podcast, but being in all of your guys' presence and feeling heard and seen and understood. And like, I resonate with every single thing. Like, it just makes me feel like tribe people, like I'm not alone in this, because when you're surrounded, I think at home by like a lot of people in my family are like very left-brained and don't analyze too much and let it be and don't be so crazy. And I think you can start to believe that like maybe I am just crazy. And so I think it's really important to find people that vibrate at the same wavelengths as you and like stay united.
Yes, no doubt. This is not your first show, is it really?
It is, yeah.
You're amazing, Nicole.
I've always been on the back, like producing.
I want to give everybody a shout out who's been on the interviews with us for our books. You, Nicole, any of you who this is the first time getting your brave words out into the world in the podcast fashion or a YouTube show, or of course, by hitting publish in a book, you are all warriors, right? And you have heard me say it a million times. Those words are going to change the world when we're brave enough to share them. So Nicole, thank you for being brave about that. Sonia, tell me about what community has meant to you.
It has been, first, it's been a joy. I'm going to start with that one. Nicole touched upon the idea. I think everyone's looking for their tribe, their people, right? And then you find it, and that's such an invigorating and exhilarating place. It gives you a starting point, right? You're able to launch from a place. I tell people, get somewhere where you can come from a place of strength. When you're from a place of strength and not a place of fear, when you've got your people around you, when you are able to create and come into that safety of your people, then you're able to really expand it and be, the word that keeps coming up for me is in flow. So when you're in community, you're able to flow. That's when I know that I am in my soul, is because everything is flowing. And with community, not only now is it my tribe, but now that I'm settled in and sure of and knowing who I am and being willing to be in that, then I can expand it to the all. It's really starting to grow out. But that's what it is. It turns out that the community is who you can recognize and see yourself mirrored in. Because once you learn to see with these soul-centered eyes, then it all changes. It's just gorgeous.
Said in an interview yesterday, remember, it could be one other person that does that for you. Mm-hmm. It could be a group of two. It could be, right? And so you start small, and then, you attract what you are. So we're practicing being awesome, of course. And that vibe is high because of that, right? But just reminding everyone who's listening, that community could be one other person at first. And it's important to remember that. So anything else you want to say about that, Sonia?
I'm looking at my window, and there's this tree out here, and I feel like, I can go be in community with this tree.
Yeah.
Right. It's just allowing yourself to be connected to who's with you and what is around you.
Yes. Okay. So Sydney, what do you want to add to this conversation we're having about community? What has that meant to you?
First of all, it's been life-changing. I spent my entire life looking for my people. And it wasn't until the pandemic that I started finding them. I think part of that was all of the time alone during the initial phases of the lockdown gave me a lot of time to look inside. I had a lot of time on my hands. But it was also, I had never done a Zoom call. I had never hosted or actively talked in a Zoom call before the pandemic, and I was terrified about that. I didn't like social media. I just connected with the people that, because of work or geographical connections, I was with. And it didn't occur to me at the time that the fact that we're in the same space and time or the same place is not a grounds for a true soul connection. So as horrible as the pandemic was for so many people, it allowed me to be free to be myself without all the energy of other people that weren't my people. And as a result of that, I found my tribe in places that I never thought I would, on social media. I mean, I've connected with this group of amazing women. I have a tribe of women that I adore in Amsterdam. Who would have thought? I live in Virginia. And I don't think she'll mind me sharing this, but Sonia is my best friend. And we met in a webinar with 500 other people on it. And she asked a question that resonated, and the rest is history. And that's not something I would have been able to do as a socially anxious introvert before, but it's made all the difference in feeling free to be myself because I'm surrounded by other people who also feel that same freedom to be themselves, and we lift each other up. And that is just so affirming and empowering.
I love that so much. You are not just divulging now that I've got BFFs in my Zoom room, are you? My goodness, you guys are awesome. All right. You aren't like giving each other a bad time or anything. Like, my BFF and I would just be like already talking about sarcastic things or whatever. By now, you guys are so funny.
No, not at all.
All right, Claudia, finish up this question on community. I know it's hard to go last on the questions, but what does it mean to you?
Actually, maybe do a little bit of a different approach to this. I mean, outside of our community here, but I, for one, never wanted to be part of a team. I always felt like I'm going to get blamed to be, missing the ball or whatever. I'd much rather ski on my own, run on my own, anything on my own, because I can win on my own and be blamed on my own. And so this concept was not for me, community concept. But actually, one of the tools that I'm sharing in my chapter is, I call it a little differently. I believe, one of my core beliefs, that life's a team sport. And I think what's maybe a little bit different than what you were talking about, which I agree with all of what you were saying, but just kind of not to repeat everything that you already said, is to really fully show up as yourself in life and fill somebody else's cup with what you have to give, and not something that you do not have to give. And the other way around too is to not expect things of people that they do not have to give. And so, in our like soul aligned realm, it's really nice because we're so much alike. But outside of that, it can get really, it's not so easy. People are very different with very different, they're just different. And I think you know what I mean. But even then, to find where you have overlap and how can you help each other. And like I say, like fill each other's cup and pay attention to what do we have in common and not what we do not have in common. And kind of just, go from there. So I came out of my all by myself little world. And I really enjoy that concept of that life's a team sport, and I can build my own A team with people that I need on my side to be the best I can be. And if somebody asks me to be on their team, I'll give them what I have. And I'm also always thinking or aware of what I do not have to give, and that's okay.
Yeah, nice. You're making me think of your boundaries and really knowing yourself, and it's so important. There's healing in the inner work solo, alone, and there's healing in community when you're witnessed and held. And there's just so much healing opportunity, right? So that's why one of the missions here with these books and really with my company is just waking people up to what's possible in all of the different ways. It's not one or the other. Yes, Sonia.
I just wanted to add something as I was listening to Claudia talk, and what I heard in that is I had an image of a rowing team of people rowing in the same direction and having the discernment to find those people that are willing to row in the same direction. And, you know, that's how you really build and find that and recognize that community. Beautiful.
Yeah, nice. Nice, nice. Okay, so I have one more question for all of you, and I'm going to challenge you because you have to give me the speed dating version of the answer today, okay? We're going to wrap up here in a couple of minutes. So see if you can answer this in a sentence. Good luck with that. Sonia, you're first for this one. So we have been talking this whole time about awareness, and it honestly is one of my favorite topics ever. So all of you have practices of self-care and awareness that feed and nourish you so that you're able to give from an overflow and not your reserves, right? So I just want to know what's one, because I know you have probably 100, but what's one of the ways that you practice that awareness or that self-care? What's one of your favorite tools you can share with the listener?
One of my favorites is the heart focused breathing and quick coherence practice, because that brings the heart and the head together, stops the stress reaction, and lets me be in a place. It brings me to a still point from which I can then come into awareness of what's going on within and without and what I need to do next.
Beautiful and powerful. More on still points later, y'all. I'm a fan. And we could get going off a tangent on that one. So, well, you guys are going to have to look Dr. Sonia Lucky up if you want to know more about the still point. Okay. Sydney, what's one of your favorite ways to practice?
One of my favorite and most effective ways is journaling. It changed significantly. I've never really thought much about it, mainly because a couple of times I've written things in my journal that I probably shouldn't have, and somebody found them. Not good. But once I understood in my own personal journaling, the difference between a diary and a journal, it changed everything for me. So my journaling is not about what I did today, who said what, you know, what I thought about. It's about observing. It's about making connections. It's about how I'm feeling about things, how I'm interpreting the things that are happening around me. And that helps me to see patterns. It helps me to understand myself better because I'm observing through the writing. And it just helps me release a lot of tension or anxiety or stress and know that I'm growing. It reminds me that I'm growing, and there's a lot to be thankful for.
Well, y'all know I'm a fan of journaling. I love it when you guys bring up writing as a part of your tool. Like, so writing is my meditative practice. And I channel messages, ideas, everything, poems, full poems, putting pen to paper. So Sydney, you know, I love that answer. All right, Claudia, how about you? What's one of your favorite ways to practice awareness or self-care?
Mine is, I don't have one answer. Mine's a morning routine. And
Yeah.
and if I stick to that, I'm golden and I have a lot to give. If it's for some reason not happening, it's not so good. And it's really just, I need to get up early. That's just who I am. I want to get up early. I need to run or move my body. And then I do the journaling, which is exactly what you were saying before. It's more gratitude, but those three things together. And then if I want to have conversations with God, I'm writing a lot because my mind goes so fast. If I have conversations with God in my head, we're talking all over each other, but I write so we can kind of keep it slow.
That's great.
But it's like that's 3-pack and it needs to be together and early.
Well, Miracle Morning. Has anyone read that book? Yeah. So if you haven't, it's a great, great book. And having that be the first thing that you do is your Miracle Morning routine, whatever is in your routine in there, sets up your whole day. So it's important, right? I love it, Claudia. Thank you. I definitely have my miracle morning. Nicole, you are going to close this party out today. Tell us your
Woo.
favorite way.
For 10 years, it was intense workouts daily. That was how I dropped. And now I have quite a few sports injuries because I did not listen to my body. So my new mantra is drop in, connect, and open up daily. And some days that might be an ice bath or laying in the backyard and calling my sister on the phone. Some days that might be like being brave and complimenting somebody and saying hi and trying to create a friendship. Other days it might be something special with my son or a vigorous sauna session and breathwork session, but like every day doing something that kind of hits those buckets.
I love it. I love hearing all of you talk about all the ways, right? And it's also the reason I love these books so much is because we need all of your unique voices and ways of talking about it, you know, in this case, soul aligned businesses and lives. Because, you know, you could hear something 100 times, but the 101st person who says it is the way you could receive it, right? So you are all brilliant in terms of sharing your beautiful stories and your master teachings in this book. Excuse me. So to our viewers, you know, maybe something one of these beautiful people said to you is giving you the goosebumps or resonating, or you have a question, or you need support or whatever, drop down into the show notes because I have you hooked up with all of their websites. Please take a little click exploration, see all the amazing stuff they're up to. They're very generously there to support your next steps. And authors, thank you so much for what you do in the world and for being here today to share it with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
So my next invitation to all of you is to join us for our live stream book launch party on July 6th at noon Eastern, where I'm going to gather with all of the authors of The Ultimate Guide to Creating Your Soul Aligned Business. And you're going to find us on the Brave Healer Productions Facebook page. That link is also down below. If you happen to be listening to this show after that date, well, that means the book is ready and on Amazon. So hop on over and grab your copy. And lastly, today, everyone, remember, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. It's time to be brave. See you next time, everyone. Bye, ladies.
Bye.